I've been getting a lot of questions about what happened to my van. And we're not talking about this one, we're talking about the Vivaro. And, well, I've still got it. This video is sponsored by EcoFlow. This is my 2008 Vauxhall Vivaro. It comes complete with Cornish country lane scratches, and I'm counting about 25 stone chips on the front. I mean, there's a chance that this scratch here was actually where somebody keyed the van, but that's been there since I bought it. You're probably thinking, well, Sean, why would you buy a van that's already covered in scratches? I mean, it even looks like somebody's attempted to write their name on the back door. Whoa, slippery. Now, the whole point of this camper van when I was out building it was that I wanted it to sort of just blend in, and I wanted something that I wasn't too precious over. Other than the way the exterior looks, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the van. It drives really well. It's got nearly 145,000 miles on the clock. It's been regularly serviced. It drives better than what my Transit does, and that's just had a new engine. And as far as this van goes insulation wise, it's very warm. If anything, it can be a little too warm sometimes. And considering it's November and I can sit in here in a t-shirt, I'd say that's a job well done. Now, I'm making this video today as kind of like one last hurrah to this van. I don't think I've ever really shown it close up. One of the things I always wanted on a van, right? And this is something that I said to myself years ago when I had my van before this, if I ever did it again, I would put a roof deck on top of the van. And that's what I did. So, this is my roof deck. It's been a little while since I've been up there because I've pretty much spent the whole summer working on my new van, but it's literally a roof rack, and these are decking panels, which is what you'd have in your garden. I did make a video on building this, and I think it came out really well, but it's nothing better than sitting up there of a morning with a coffee and looking out at the view. One of the things that I saw was a compromise in this van was not being able to stand up and cook, so that's why I built out here a little table that just pops up, and that way you can put your stove on top of there, you can do your cooking, you can stand up, and it just on a nice dry day it's actually really pleasant. And then that just clips down and packs away nice and tidy. I never actually had a fixed cooker, I always just use one of these. You've all seen them. They're like little propane gas heaters. They're like 20 quid, but you can carry spare gas with you because, you know, they're like a little aerosol can, so it doesn't take up a lot of space, and you know that you're never going to run out of gas. Now, one thing I never did put in this van were any windows, and the only reason for that was because I wanted it to be as stealth as possible. I wanted to be able to just park up at the side of the road and not have to worry about another window that I need to cover up. I mean, it's bad enough having just to cover up this, and I've literally just got a sliding curtain that goes across. Works a treat, really simple design, and it actually prevents a lot of light from getting out and in. One of the most important things in a small space is storage. And I'm going to start with this little cupboard here. And apart from it working as a very nice sort of backrest when I'm in bed, it does other things as well other than just storage. You might notice there's a little hook here, and that's designed so that when you lift this up, it literally goes into that little hole there, and that holds it up while you go in there. And then inside you can keep all of your sort of stuff that you might need. But then on this side I have my 12-volt fuse box, my split charge relay, and then my leisure battery there as well, which is actually an AGM battery, not a lithium. So it weighs a little bit, but this van's pretty light anyway, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And then from here along the side, this is the only power other than the lights that I have in the van. This is the only other power that I have. So I've got a 12-volt cigarette input here, and then 2 USBs as well. And one thing that I never actually installed was an inverter or any form of 240-volt electrics, which I used to think was a real pain because, you know, I didn't really want to find a place for the inverter to go or anything like that. And then I realised there's actually an easier way to do it. Now, one of the ways around not having any 240-volt electrics in this van would be to install something like this. This is the EcoFlow Delta 2. It's an 1800 watt power station that is pretty compact and pretty light for the amount of output that it generates. But if I were to build this van again, I probably wouldn't have bothered with the leisure battery or anything. I just would have installed one of these because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 ports on this tiny little power station. 2 USB-A, another 2 USB-A but fast charge, 2 USB-C, both at 100 watt. And then on the back, you've got 4 AC sockets and then a DC car socket as well, and 2 3 amp DC sockets as well. When you pair this up with the 220 watt solar panel that you can get to go with this, you can pretty much live off grid for as long as you need. 220 watts in this. I mean, it unfolds, I'll show you that in a minute, but that's almost as powerful as the huge solar panel I've got on my other van. Now, solar was one thing that I never installed on this van, and I always wanted to, but I could never work out how I would go about it. But with this, you literally take it out of this container, pop it up on the roof, it's almost like it was designed for this van. It almost fits perfectly up here. And then this plugs into there. This plugs into there. And then this plugs in to there. And then if we look at this on this fairly cloudy day, we're already generating 109 watts of solar input into this. So it can actually take care of itself if you need it to. Now, I actually have a similar setup in my shed. Well, I haven't got the Delta 2 in my shed. What I've actually got is the River 2 and a 110 watt solar panel. And the reason why I bring this up is because these solar panels are designed in 2 ways. You can either have them as a temporary, where you fold them out and you can stand them up, point them towards the sun, and it will absorb as much sunlight as it can, or you can actually permanently mount them as well, which is what I've done with my shed. I have these little holes and I've just literally screwed them into the roof of the shed, and it keeps the River 2 powered pretty much all year round. I don't even have to think about it. I just go out there. If I ever need to charge my drills or any form of like batteries that I use, I just plug it into the shed and it gets charged. So even though this is an 1800 watt power station, so which means that, you know, it can power most appliances, everything that I would need in this van. It also has a boost on it, which will actually allow it to go up to 2700 watts. I can even use it on something that draws a lot of power, which is like a hot air gun. So if I'm doing any wiring or anything and I need to use a hot air gun, I can actually power it through this. Now, I am actually selling this camper van, and I figured, obviously to sell it I need to clean it. And I thought the ultimate test for this might be seeing if it can put up with my industrial size Hoover. So I'm going to plug that in, Hoover the van, and then see how much power it actually draws. So after hoovering the entire van, it's only taken 3% battery. So I'd say that's pretty good going, considering that hoover does take quite a lot of power to get going. So if you are in the market for an EcoFlow Delta 2 or even the River 2, EcoFlow is actually running a Black Friday deal from the 17th to the 23rd of November. If you check out the link in the description and use my discount code LoveSundays, you'll get 5% off. Because there's not a huge amount of space in this van, I did actually, when fitting this unit, realise that when the bed was pulled out all the way, I couldn't actually open this door. So what I did, I cut that door in half just so that I could still access what's in here when the bed's out. And it's a bit of a primitive cut. I wouldn't say it was even that straight, but it does the job, and that's the whole thing with this van. It just needs to just do the job. As you can see, it's not very tidy. So this is what I would call the kitchen area. This worktop here was actually an old TV unit that I got off Facebook Marketplace for like 12 quid, and it's worked wonders as my kitchen. It's worked wonders as my kitchen worktop. Really straightforward. I do my cooking on top of here. I can also work from here if I want to put my laptop up here. But I've got the standard IKEA spice rack, which did have spices in it, but I've moved them all over to the new van. A couple of jars there for pasta that I've never used, but they look alright, don't they? Also, there's a shelf at the top here, which is good for when you're stationary, but don't forget to take anything off there before you drive away, because there's no lip on the shelf there, so things will go flying. This is a little lamp that's got some fairy lights in it. You probably can't see it very well now because it's not that dark in here, but it makes a very nice mood light in the van when it's dark. I've pretty much tried to utilise these back doors as much as I can. That's what she said. There's just loads of hooks up there with different things. I've got GoPro mounts and a spade that I found on the beach that I've just ended up keeping. Another GoPro mount for when I'm snorkeling. A snorkel there. A hook to hang my dry bag. All these kinds of things. And it's just about utilising it. And the same with this side. Literally, I've just put a little rail in there so I can put my fins in there. And they just pop out. And that's it. You could hang anything there, towels, whatever. And in keeping with maximising the storage in this van, I've stuck my surfboard to the wall just so that I don't have to keep it on the outside of the van. But also, it's always there. I've always got a board in the van that way. So that's really good. When I sell the van, this won't be, I'll be keeping this. But I have thought of that because behind there is actually a cargo net that you can put other things in for storage and things. So it's not like if I take this away, it's just going to be like a blank wall. There is something behind there. And this bed that I've got in this van is very, very comfortable. Considering I made this myself, these covers on the mattress here are completely waterproof. So the reason why I decided to go with waterproof covers was literally because I use this van for getting in and out of my wetsuit, for, you know, all these kinds of things. There's always sand in here. And the one thing that I didn't want to do would be just feel like I couldn't sit on my sofa here when I'm wet, and I didn't want to sort of damage the material or anything like that. So it is literally just foam core and then memory foam on top of that. And it's actually very comfortable. And one of the benefits with this as well is you can either have it as a single bed, like a sofa bed, like it is now, or you can pull it out to a double, which is normally what I did because it's just so much more comfortable. There is ample storage under the bed as well. I can literally fit 4 box containers under there. And I normally store like wetsuits and anything to do with the beach just under the bed, out the way, and it just sort of utilises your sort of walking space a lot better. So as I mentioned, this van is now currently for sale. The reason why it's taken so long for me to actually sell this van is because I had to get it MOT'd, so I wanted to put a 12-month MOT on this van before I decide to move it on. Like most garages at the moment, they had it for well over a week, so it's taken me a little bit of time. If you want any details on the sale of the vehicle, just check out my website, which is LoveSundays.uk. And I think the moral of this story is you can go all out with a camper van and spend thousands of pounds like I did on my Transit, or you can put together a vehicle for very little and still get a lot out of it. And on that note, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!